The argument ends. Not with a bang. Not with a slammed door. It ends with a click. The sound of a lock turning inside a man's mind. You stand there, words still smoking on your tongue, ready for the next volley. But it never comes. There is only stillness. His silence is a wall, a smooth, black, impenetrable surface where your anger, your justifications, your pleas, they all just slide off, leaving no mark. At first, you think it's a tactic, a childish game, the silent treatment. You roll your eyes, you huff, you wait for him to break, but the minutes stretch into an hour. The silence in the house grows teeth. It's no longer empty. It's full of everything he isn't saying. This isn't the silent treatment. You've felt that before. This is different. This isn't a withdrawal of affection. This is a withdrawal of reality, his reality. He has unplugged himself from your shared narrative. And in doing so, he has taken the stage, the lights, and the audience with him, leaving you alone in the dark. Welcome to the psychological power of male silence. It's not an absence of noise. It is a presence of control, a recalibration of power you never saw coming. You see, in the theater of a relationship, conflict is a script. You know your lines. He knows his. You escalate, he placates. You accuse, he defends. This dance is familiar. It might be painful, but it's predictable. It validates the dynamic. Even a fight is a form of connection, a twisted, screaming, ugly connection. His yelling, his pleading, his long-winded explanations, they are all fuel. They tell you that you matter, that your words have impact, that you can steer the emotional ship, even if it's into a storm. But when he goes silent, the fuel is gone. The engine sputters and dies. The storm inside your own head has nothing to push against. It implodes. This is a psychological principle called pattern interruption. Humans are creatures of habit. We build emotional loops. The fight and make-up cycle is one of the most addictive. His silence is a sledgehammer to that loop. It's a full stop. It introduces a new, terrifying variable, the unknown. Your brain, desperate for resolution, scrambles. It replays your last words. Were they too harsh? It analyzes his blank expression. Is this anger? Indifference? Is it over? The silence creates a vacuum. And in that vacuum, your own thoughts, your own guilt, your own insecurities become deafening. He is no longer the villain in your story. You are. He hasn't punished you. He has simply stepped out of the way and handed you the mirror. And you are horrified by what you see. Let's call them Elias and Clara. Elias was a talker, a fixer. Every time Clara erupted in a storm of criticism, Elias would meet her there with an umbrella of logic and a raincoat of reassurance. He'd explain his intentions, apologize for her feelings. He'd build a bridge over any chasm she created. He thought he was solving the problem. In reality, he was rewarding the behavior. Clara learned a simple, toxic equation. My outburst equals his total, undivided attention. My disrespect equals his earnest effort to win me back. Her chaos was a currency, and he was always solvent. One Tuesday, it was about something trivial, the way he loaded the dishwasher. But for Clara, the subject was never the point. The explosion was the point. She called him incompetent, useless, said he never listened. The words were daggers, and she threw them with precision. Elias opened his mouth to deploy the usual toolkit, the explanation, the apology, the peace treaty. But then something snapped. He closed his mouth. He looked at her, not with anger, not with hurt. He looked at her like a scientist observing a chemical reaction that had finally, predictably, concluded. And then he turned, picked up a single plate, and began to wash it by hand, methodically, silently. The water ran, the sponge made soft, circular sounds. That was all. Clara was left standing in the wreckage of her own tantrum. The silence he offered was a vacuum. It sucked the air from her lungs, the power from her anger. "So that's it? You're just not going to talk to me?" She baited, her voice a little too loud in the quiet room. Silence. He just kept washing the plate. The next few hours were a masterclass in psychological warfare. waged by a conscientious objector. He didn't ignore her, he simply operated on a different plane. If she asked a question, he would give a simple, factual one-word answer. Are you hungry? No. Are you still mad? No answer. The first was a logistical question. The second was an invitation to the old dance. And he was no longer dancing. This wasn't punishment. This was a boundary, forged in fire and set in stone. He was communicating more powerfully than ever before. My inner peace is no longer available for your disruption. By evening, Clara's anger had curdled into a cold, crawling anxiety. The predictable world she had built, where her emotions were the sun around which his world orbited, had been turned inside out. She was forced to look at the one thing she never had to before, her own behavior, without his reaction, to soften the edges. Her daggers were still lying on the floor, but now she was the one stepping on them. Late that night, she found him reading in a chair. She didn't speak. She just sat on the floor a few feet away. The silence was still there, but it had changed. It was no longer a wall, it was just space. The way I spoke to you today, she said, her voice small, fragile. It was unacceptable. Elias slowly closed his book. He looked at her, really looked at her. And in that moment, the dynamic of their entire relationship was rewired. He didn't do it to punish her. He did it to protect himself. He didn't withdraw to manipulate. He withdrew to preserve his own dignity. His silence taught her something his words never could, that his respect was not a given. It was a privilege, and it could be revoked. This is the ultimate punishment that isn't a punishment, it's a consequence. It's the moment a man stops being a participant in a woman's emotional chaos and becomes an observer of his own boundaries. It forces a fundamental rewiring of her brain. The part of her that equated his frantic response with her own importance must now confront a new reality. His calm response is a measure of his own importance. So, if you find yourself in that storm, tired of playing the game, remember the power you hold. It's not in the volume of your voice, but in the weight of your silence.